Good viewer, you are watching Xirtus.
Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus.
I mean, I was ready to do it. I don't know. I was like, okay,
Best
I'll
theme song on YouTube.
I mean, because we've got the like ex-church times on my side thing. What's the deal with pornography in the Middle East? It's basically banned, right? So like, trust me, I'm leading into this for a reason. So, you guys know that they arrested Pavel Durov in France, the creator of Telegram, for not moderating appropriately, right? Like, because the other companies, what they do is the government say, look, it's crazy that you have an online community space that people can post anything. And it's too easy for something to go wrong, for a kid to post something he shouldn't, for an adult to exploit another adult or a kid, or, you know, anything that could go wrong. So what they say is, we'll let your company not go bankrupt with all these insane fees we'll do, and we won't arrest you if you let us use your company to spy on people, right? And as long as there's all these back doors for everything, then it's all right for you to exist, okay? And so now they've arrested him, but awesomely, the United Arab Emirates, who, let's just remind people, like, they do watch a lot of pornography, even though it's illegal, right? Like, that's kind of the thing. And I think a big usage of that case is through Telegram. So I don't know if that's directly related, but it's kind of like, is Telegram the new VHS? You know what I mean?
Right. It's interesting that this is happening in conjunction with Mark Zuckerberg's recent statement, kind of trying to, you know, communicate something that I think most of us should know already.
New pornography?
That's a really good question. I mean, if you look at the history of pornography, you know, that should get pretty interesting. It's like, as soon as we were able to photograph and as soon as we were able to film, what were the first things that we did? You know, when the printing press was invented, it was all spiritual text first. So there's like, first thing's the Bible. Then they did even the esoteric stuff before Apocrypha, before they like got to anything else, you know, for the most part.
I mean, we can jump right there. I was kind of trying to stretch it out, but syncs are syncs. And there's no way to deny that there's this sort of Barabbas Jesus Christ thing going on, right? Like, that's kind of the deal with Mark Zuckerberg and Pavel Durov.
Right.
And they're saying, yeah.
You realize the timing of this is impeccable with Zuckerberg, because this was a case of Kennedy versus the White House. And so the thing is moving along its way. So now it's Facebook. So he's basically gotten permission to sue the White House from a Louisiana judge. So all bets are off on where this is actually headed. So it's going to be an interesting ride for sure.
I mean, so there's just the people I talked to were upset because I said, great, I'm glad he's blowing with the wind. It's a good thing that Mark Zuckerberg is blowing with the wind. And they're like, oh man, like, you can't just give him a chance or like forgive him, or I don't exactly know the whole, I was like, wait, I'm not saying we have to be friends with Mark Zuckerberg. I'm just saying that it's I mean, he's now putting up the Trump picture on his wall too, like he's being ordered to do, or is choosing to do, and that's either way interesting.
He funded the 2016 RNC. I mean, he's
Yeah.
one of the main funders for it. I don't
So I
think people
mean,
realize, like,
Who? Durov?
Zuckerberg.
Oh,
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's worth considering that he's not stoked with what's going on. But a lot of people are saying, "Oh man, if you had integrity, you would have what? You would have done exactly what Alex Jones did. You would have, you know what I mean? Like you would have done exactly what Seth Rich did. Like what is it you were supposed to do that like you would have been allowed or permitted to live through doing?"
It was the week that Biden went into office that he basically threatened the social media platforms, including Meta, obviously. And so Meta complied. And so, which was obvious to anybody who was paying attention to what was happening in Facebook in 2020. It was like you used certain words. It didn't even matter how you were using them. You were just like, it was like an automatic, takedown. And so, yeah, there you go.
Is the United States Emirates the best place for a free speech future? And I'm not even being sarcastic. If you think about it, we lost the most speech in history during puritanical democratic law under Cromwell in England, right? When they killed the king. And we got our freedoms back through bringing back a monarch from the Netherlands, right? Prince Charles. So like this idea that the Emirates might be the sultan that gives you the most privileges, that might be the best equivalence we have in social contracts to freedoms. I mean, they're gonna protect their interests. They're gonna protect this is the United States. The United Arab Emirates is also video games, right? Esports. They're taking it over. And they're like pushing out all the woke agenda in video games and everything. So I mean, is this where it's gonna happen, or what do you think about? Is it crazy to say that the Arab Emirates would be the free speech bastion?
Seems like there's going to be a few different, places across the world that'll spring up and become little enclaves of, like El Salvador is apparently one of them, I would think. And maybe the Dubai is probably going to be another kind of Singapore. I mean, like economic freedoms more than just as much as free speech. And that can lead to really good things usually. So.
All those examples of free speech in any one of those countries that anyone just mentioned seems like it would be by the graces of the government allowing it to exist, which I guess is our best hope too, but it's still a complete inversion from where we started at, where it was like we demand this and we build a country and a government around our demand for this thing, but the demand's kind of gone down.
Right. All of our values have shifted. And even having conversations about strong opinions about Roe versus Wade. And it's like, how did Roe versus Wade come to be in the first place? It was medical privacy. And I don't really know what our values are ultimately in terms of even caring about medical privacy. Because in the last few years, you've seen people kind of argue that you shouldn't even have medical privacy when it comes to, vaccination stuff. So.
I'm sure this has been picked apart before, but it always blew my mind how it's like Roe versus Wade, which are two different ways you could approach like coasting along in a boat. Like you could either put emphasis behind it, or you can just like wade in the water a little bit. I don't know. I always thought it was a funny way.
The timing doesn't work, but I almost wanted to feel like it was like a Rosemary's Baby thing, because they call her Roe for short.
It absolutely was. Let's just say it.
Let's be honest. I don't know. So in Zuckerberg, though, you think that it's just inevitable that he's going to sway with the wind? Or, I mean, that article is on CNN. So, like, CNN's
No, he's covering his ass because the White House is about to be sued. And so, like, there's a lot of things that I'm not seeing anywhere in the news that's the context for everything else that's happening. Like, I don't know. Like, they cut the announcement short on Fox and CNN from RFK. So people don't even know, apparently, because of what the headlines are saying, that he's still running. Like, he's taking his name off of 10 states in the battlegrounds.
I had like 6 good jokes about it. Basically, it was like the main one was that he, the real news this week is he's calling for investigations into the claim that he chainsawed a whale's head off. Right? That's the news that they're pushing right now. Right. I mean, of all the things, like it's always like him with a bear, him with a whale. This is like they're doing whatever they. Because they know, like, usually you wouldn't do that. If it was Ron Paul, The only time that happened where they're like, he's a gynecologist, vagina, like they knew that could get in the news. But RFK is this guy who's constantly in the news. So you have to constantly have something that's heavier weighted in the metrics.
Yeah,
so
but
if you can tie it to
Also
something
a cocaine dealer, and
yeah, right. Like it's
at,
the only way.
at Harvard back in the day, he looked like Jim Morrison at the time or something.
He's already
It's
got my
like,
vote. You can stop selling it now.
Yeah. No, well, that's the thing. Even with the bear thing, it's like New Yorkers. They're like, "That's freaking awesome, dude."
freaking
But
awesome.
like you
you're
were going
not
to
wrong,
eat
we
the
should-
thing, and then you had to go to a fancy place, and you're like, "Okay, is the valet going to move the car with a bear in the back? Like, what do we do with it?" Well, we're in New York City. Well, Central Park is right there. Like, it's like that's funny. Like, it feels like a Curb Your Enthusiasm.
It's literally what
episode.
Crocodile Dundee did that one time to stop poachers. If you think about it, it's like God tier. But yeah, let's emphasize this point you made that he never suspended his actual campaign. I mean, he's suspended only
it's
the campaign itself.
ambiguous. It's like they're doing it. They go back and forth. Like
No, he's still on the ballot.
He's suspended.
He's very clear.
No,
and he
Very
can't come
clear
off. He
he's-
said he was going to come off, but now he can't.
He's not gonna put
No.
his money. He's not gonna put his money into the campaign anymore, and he's gonna emphasize this coalition with Trump.
It
But
was
his name is
very
still on
clear in the
ballot blue
announcement.
states.
Dude, I just went. I've been doing the farmers market every week with a table for RFK, and people were losing it on me last time. Like, so this Sunday, I had people screaming fascist, like at the top of their lungs, leaving and coming back, going fascist, fascist, just losing their minds.
That's
And I'm over
every
here
farmer
saying I'm
market.
voting for Kennedy. Like, I'm in California, I can vote for Kennedy. It'll be on 40 ballots. It's like, but then I go to explain it to people, like they have no context. Most people in Santa Cruz, like a liberal place, like they have not been following what's been happening. So it's just like they don't know who Clear Choice is, like the super PAC from the DNC that's been running him through the ringer through this entire campaign. So he goes state by state, gets double to triple the signatures for every state, and then every time it happens, practically he gets challenged by this super PAC, and they don't care that they've been losing because they thought initially, like, well, maybe we win and then we win again and then we win again, and that'll set some precedent and they'll leave us alone. They don't leave them alone. They haven't stopped the entire time, and so this reached a breaking point with the residency issue. So he went to his attorneys and was like, "What state should I put down?" And they're like looking at it and they're like, "Well, all your licenses and your law office, and you've been a resident of New York, you vote in New York, you've been a resident since 1964. Like, it seems like you should put down New York, but they're going to challenge it no matter where it is." And it cost him $10 million. So far, and that's just so, and then there's the appeal, and we're still waiting on the outcome apparently. So like, and if it turns out that he loses the appeal, his name is off of every ballot, despite record signatures, over 1 million signatures across the country. No one's ever gotten that many signatures for as a candidate before, and there's still so it's just like, yeah.
Is it too late to bump JD Vance off the ticket and put RFK in this spot?
People are asking that.
I don't think we want to do
Vance
that.
in the
I think
VP.
Vance is good because his job is to like sit there on top of the table watching the Senate do its business. That's what the vice president's actually supposed to do. But we could use
but you've got a Cheney every once in a while, right? Like every once in a while, you got someone that can drive from the back seat.
That does more than the president, like Cheney did. Totally.
We could use
Or
a new
George
kosha.
H.W. Bush.
We could use a new kosha. If you think about it,
I think Donald just wants to golf.
I think a commander-in-chief of the CIA position, like as crazy as that sounds,
that would be awesome.
is not as crazy as it looks when you start hearing about Zuckerberg on CNN talking about what the freaking government made him do last. Like, what are they doing, bro? This is clearly like a shift.
People are talking about that now.
Chairs.
I've been waiting for people to talk about that for since it's been brought to the courts. So like most people don't even know that it's been known that Zuckerberg was forced to comply with censorship on social media, not just him, but Facebook itself and Instagram. And they removed Kennedy's stuff the same week that Biden took office from both Facebook and Instagram. So he sued, and now it looks like that's actually going somewhere on the same day, the same week as Zuckerberg's announcement. Or his statement. So it's just, it's all the timing of all of this is just like seems really like I don't know.
Well, that's a good segue for my little spiel about Kennedy and Trump, because I've been trying to write this up into a Substack, but I just haven't been able to. But it's insane what the timing of his announcement. If anybody doesn't know. I mean, I guess people don't read my shit. So, but anyway,
I do.
Everybody knows that Trump was 70 years, 70 months, 7 days old when he was inaugurated for the whole 777 thing.
Common knowledge.
Everybody
It's
knows
common
that.
knowledge. It's common knowledge amongst a certain kind of person. Well, anyway, long story short, Robert F. Kennedy was exactly the same age when he announced his merger with Trump. And so, yeah, they were born, and then they were born 7 months and 7 weeks apart, something like that. I don't know, can't remember. 7 years and 7 months. Sorry. So it's really insane. Now I'm looking forward to tomorrow, because that is what we call the K Day, which is when Trump, it'll be Kennedy's K Day, which is the day that he will be as old as Kubrick was when he died. Which we've sort of proven to be like a constant in nature and in various ways. And it seems to be a very important day. So I'm looking at tomorrow. Yeah. And then I learned there's going to be a huge planetary alignment, which
Weird,
I guess
right?
it just happened in June too. So I don't know how common it is.
February, I thought.
Maybe both. Maybe.
Like February 28th, I
Gotta
think, was
use
the
them
last
or
planetary
lose
alignment.
them.
And there was 8 last time. There's 6 this time. But yeah.
Yeah. So RFK Day tomorrow. I'm really kind of actually afraid. I have been sort of secretly, just not secretly, but like thinking they could still kill him. They could still try to kill RFK at this point.
Well, they've been doing character assassination nonstop. And so, like, he's basically there's been a lot of assassination attempts, you know, if it's not, well, I mean, you know, he had the same guy break into his house twice after he was arrested the first time with false credentials. So, and that was before he got his Secret Service. And as soon as it was that he made his announcement, he lost Secret Service protection. And
right,
so
I remember
that's
that,
still
yeah.
kind of scary, yeah. And one of the things that Kennedy was saying about the Trump attempted assassination is that he found it very odd that there was no drones on the site. He was like, even with the protection that he was paying for before he got Secret Service, he's like, if you do an outdoor event, there's supposed to be drones everywhere. Not just the drones, like the security was just like January 6th level. It's like, did you not do any extra anything? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, well,
the father of Crook, right? It just got some high profile lawyer. Did you see that one?
What's
so
that?
the Crooks the attempted assassin on President Trump. I'm trying to find the picture of it, man. There's his father here. This guy, Thomas Michael Crooks, the parents are both licensed counselors. This is his father. This guy, he just hired this like super important lawyer. Team of powerhouse of attorneys. The FBI continues to investigate just how much they knew ahead of their son's assassination attempt on President Trump's. So
did you see that where you got that screenshot from, that video of him in the parking lot where he's got his groceries there? Basically what he said in response to them, they're asking him all these questions, like just people being, you know, annoying press or whatever, and he says to him, he goes, "I gotta pee." That was his only real response to them. So he had to.
Well, look at all that Gatorade. Of course he does.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, right?
It's got electrolytes.
Oh my God, I don't know. But so the powerhouse of lawyers thing is interesting because it's like, okay, so who's in charge? Like, who's on first? Like, who's running what in the government? Because you've got, usually when there's 8 years, you got 4 years to install your government, right? And then the next like 4 years to like use your government, and then you've got like another government in pushing into the Congress, so that the next 4 years, and then that's how you've got this like 8 year cycle, 32 year or whatever. It seems to me that with the 4 and 4 that we broke off, one Trump term, one Biden term, that you've got Trump installed his government, and then they've done executive orders to try to undo some of that stuff. But there still are people that are just, those are positions that have been filled. Those are jobs. Those are new bureaucratic. States have certain authority that they didn't before this. They tried to compensate for that with like quarantine. Like now there's this universal power at the same time, but who runs what, and like who's really in charge? We've always thought of the FBI as corrupt, but what if it's like double corrupt? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Corrupted by corruption. I don't know, man. Like it just seems like it could be that there's a lot of stuff swinging here, and there's always people wondering like what's going to happen to me. Like, where's my bank number to the Bahamas? Mm-hmm. So you're telling me these lawyers, because there's all these optics on me, you're telling me these lawyers are going to defend me, right? Because the courts are on your side. It seems like that. Everything's all out of control. It just feels like you can't trust on the system of corruption that like you used to. It's like the Soviet Union.
So many people's reaction to the Secret Service thing is like, oh, they removed Secret Service. Oh, good, he's probably safer. Why is he probably safer? Because look at the history. Like, he knows, and it said, like, there's a BBC documentary that essentially proves with forensics that Sirhan did not get a single bullet into RFK Sr. And so, like, it's the shots that actually hit him, different caliber weapon, very close range, came from directly behind him. One of the shots from Sirhan grazed his shoulder, didn't get stuck in him, went by. All 8 bullets, he had an 8-bullet gun. All 8 bullets are accounted for. So where did those other bullets come from? You can see in the pictures that he's got the Secret Service right behind him. The bullets were from close range right behind him. It looks like he was shot by Secret Service. So it's like, it's one of these crazy things where it's like, dude, that's what eyewitnesses have communicated. That's what forensics shows. Despite that, Sirhan tried to shoot him. So he's in jail to this day. RFK and other family members have tried to get Sirhan out of prison because they know that he didn't actually kill RFK, even though he wanted to. So that's pretty crazy.
Lest
Could
we
you imagine
forget,
spending all that time in MK Ultra programming just for your target to miss all 8 shots?
yeah, totally. You
Right?
watch
Well,
that movie.
yeah.
Watch Trumbo's executive action movie, where they're just like, yeah, I mean, like, because one of the guys says, "Can he be relied on?" Like, no, we're not relying on him. That's not what we're doing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like he's in the whole, it's part of this whole crazy thing that's going on. Oh
Yeah,
my God, what's
somebody
that
says-
Channing Tatum movie that just came out with Adam Driver where they robbed the NASCAR? They
I
don't
heard-
want
I
to know
heard-
what
I
they're
heard
meant to know, Earl. You gotta see it.
Somebody said here JFK Jr. and Alex, you love the dates. What's significant about the day that JFK Jr. died?
Oh, okay.
Wait. Just because I have ADD. Lucky Logan, though. You guys do need to see Lucky Logan.
Logan Lucky?
Logan Lucky. Sorry. This is like
There's
Lucky
a-
Number 11. It's one of those, like, it feels to me like like Snatch or something like that. I don't know
Cool.
if it's actually or not, but yeah, definitely you need to see it. That's all I wanted to say. Okay, last thing, because I'm crazy. JFK Jr. right at the assassination attempt, you've got JFK Jr., the QAnon looking guy, right, in the hat, the top hat guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Standing up the entire time behind him, and I was like, that's kind of silly, right? Because everyone talked about him during the QAnon times, and haven't seen him in a while, and here he is, like, at the rally, and I was like, there he is behind him, and then boom, there's a bang, and then he's standing while everyone else is sitting down, and he says something too. He's like, what's he say? I have no idea, because his mouth is just going up and down, like, oh, ow, I don't know, what does that mean? But to me, it seems weird that happened.
Have you seen where he's sort of subliminally pointing at him?
Yeah,
Trump
but of
yeah.
all the rallies, right? Of all the rallies for the
whole
JFK
thing
Jr.
seemed
guys,
very. I mean, it was completely staged, as and it's been forgotten. Basically, nobody seems to talk about it anymore, which is really bizarre. But I really
that's
wonder.
Not that
like,
bizarre after the Vegas thing, but yeah,
I just assume it was staged. But I'm just wondering who staged it. Like, and to what end? It seems to have been forgotten already. So maybe that indicates that it was legitimate because it failed. So they don't want to talk about a failure.
I know, right? It makes a movie feel more real. It's like, dude, they didn't like. It's like I feel like that line wasn't scripted. Okay, sorry, but Alex, for real, I did want to ask you about the numbers game and their strength in numbers.
That's some stuff.
You've got a thing on Harris too. I don't know, just you can go start wherever you want.
Well, sure. I mean, this one was just I put up. This is just looking ahead to the inauguration in 2025, and so, which I discovered a while ago was going to be exactly 666 months since the Apollo moon landing happened.
Coincidentally, okay,
Which is
coincidentally.
crazy.
I mean, that's just come on. Like,
I don't-
anything could happen.
I don't know. It just worked out that way, but
I don't know.
so these are just other ones like that. The one on top, 66,600 hours. That's how much time is between Trump and Kennedy.
Dang.
For birthdays. And so that kind of so I'm sort of was asking, who does this 666 month thing augur well for? So
Fair enough.
below that is Kamala Harris. She's going to be exactly 723 months old on the inauguration day, which is pretty good too. And then she was also born 237 days before Trump turned 19. And I do 19th birthdays are a big deal to me. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that of these candidates looking towards the election. And I still don't know. I just had this really bad feeling that Kamala is going to win, and they're going to like just rig the whole thing like they usually do, and it's going to be really disappointing. But we seem to be hitting this sort of like Hegelian flip over in the culture where we're like, the problem has been established, the reaction is unfolding.
What I think you should do, like if I were doing it,
set us up into the next.
You know how in the year 2000, when like Al Gore won, they printed all the newspapers showing that he won, but then they were like, well, now Bush won, and so they had to pull out, like they went, and this back in the old days, like kids who were watching the show, they used to have newspapers in boxes in the streets, and people could go open the box and pull out a newspaper. So they had to go and take all of the propaganda pamphlets out of the box and put new ones in. And if you had like one of the first editions of that morning's newspaper, you had like the other timeline. And so I feel like what we could do with this one is just release them both. You know what I mean? Like maybe like even in the same box, like it could be one box has one box has another, or it all could just be like one after another. Someone grabs one newspaper and it says he won, she won, and they're just like reading newspapers in the streets, and that could be America. Then that's how we decide it's true.
Well,
like Philip K. Dickian style.
Somewhere in Florida, votes are still being counted. Alex, I thought you were just gonna like the July 16th thing. So the day and year that JFK Jr. died was the day and year that Eyes Wide Shut was released in theaters in America. Also, that was a year to the day of the infiltration of Bohemian Grove by Alex Jones the following year, and with John Ronson. John Ronson in 2010 would release Kubrick's Boxes, which shows that at the time he was the only man in the world with complete access to all of Stanley Kubrick's archives, which is interesting in regards to the Golden Bough. But we've gone over that stuff. But yeah, it's the anniversary of, what is it? The 30th anniversary of the Apollo moon landings? No, that can't be. That can't be right.
It's the 30th of the launch of Apollo 11.
Of the launch of Apollo, yeah, was July 16th. Because it's 1999, 1969. There you go.
July 16th is a pretty big day throughout history for many reasons. Like Trinity explosion happened that day, and Catcher in the Rye released that day, and probably some other stuff I can't really remember at this moment. Yes, the moon faking that naturally.
Is that true about Catcher in the Rye? Is that published on that day? Really?
Doesn't that bring us back to RFK
July 16, 1950, I think. So that shows up in The Shining, of course, and
that shows up everywhere. I mean, Catcher in the Rye is huge.
That was one off.
Oh wow, July 16th
by a CIA agent, right? Was this not like a CIA agent that wrote the book?
They don't. Well, so J.D. Salinger had a kind of a shrouded military past, and people speculate on different things about it because he hasn't really shared that much, if I'm not mistaken. So I think what it was is that people speculated that he could have been an assassin for the United States government. We don't know for sure. Is that right? Am I correct in that?
Kind of like pinch on. Just
that's one of those things that kind of bums me out. Like everyone always assumes like that you would be an assassin, right? It's kind of like the Scottish thing, like
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
You have sex with one sheep, and like that's the only thing they know you for. You probably do a lot of things other than that, like maybe like run money through casinos in other countries for contracts. I don't know. There's like so many other things you would do. It's weird that everyone's always about that one.
I think that America right now is basically being forced to do a 12 steps program. And they don't even realize it. Like that's what it feels like we're in.
Democrats are going through the 5 stages of grief. There's at least some
right. No, it's just this is the thing. It's like it feels like there's like the shadow that the left doesn't want to look at, and there's the shadow that the right doesn't want to look at, and we're all like on the verge of being forced to look at it. Like it's like they're merging in such a way that is, that's not so straightforward. It's hard to wrap your head around. But something is happening right now because of the corruption of the DNC, which is the wealthiest people. So like you can't say that the Democratic Party represents the working class when they're the most wealthiest people that are backing the whole thing. So it's like we're treating it in like name only, as though this still carries
but,
over
like,
somehow.
but isn't it like, pendulums swing? You have the fourth turning, right? So what you do is when you're swinging it this time, like the Republican Party was dead, right? So I remember going to the GOP in 2016, and there was some fresh blood from people that were interested in Pepe memes, and there's some old people, that was like, and there's some like Midwesterners that you're kind of like, you're pretty, but there's not a lot going on with it. The Democrat Party at the time was like the young hip party, but the young hip party that was training people not to breed, to castrate themselves, to not have, you know what I mean? So it's just the people that were going to be part of that were disempowered the same way that the hippies were, like they give drugs to the deadheads and things like that. It was a way of pacifying and having that movement concede. And so it scares me because it seems so planned. Like 20 years ago, you've got like, okay, we have 2008 Occupy movement. We're gonna have a bunch of people's parents lose their houses. It's gonna turn them into someone that's reactionary. We'll have this reactionary swing. Then the other side is gonna become, we're gonna have families and we're gonna become super conservatives. We're gonna import more conservative people with more conservative ideologies from the Middle East or wherever it takes just to have that. And then boom, where are we at? We're almost to the point where you've got a picture of your God Emperor, back again. Which I'm not like, I'm just saying.
It's what it is. And this is all the freaking, so like I've been pissing people off with this for years now, but I believe that the smoking gun WikiLeak was the one from John Podesta to a group email to the DNC from 2016 that outlined their strategy. And they named Ted Cruz and they named Donald Trump as Pied Piper candidates. That they say, we will tell the media, the left-wing media, to substantiate them as legitimate candidates, even though we don't believe that they're legitimate. So Hillary Clinton told Trump, yeah, hell yeah, you should run, because she believed in her naivety, that in her arrogance, I should say, that he would be an easy win because of his extremism. And they're like, we get the most extreme people. They've done this with other governors in other politicians, usually governors in other states, where they're like, basically, we want the most extreme candidate so we can just point our finger and go, look at how ridiculous they are, and have everybody scapegoat, make fun, whatever. But it backfired. So Trump was backfiring on the DNC thought that gamble was a good gamble, and all these people who went along with the DNC, like on the lower level, like regular voters, like, do they know that this was a gamble that they were participating in? Like, or did they just think?
It just seems like someone has to know that, like, Hillary Clinton didn't test high with anybody's demographics ever. Like, ever. I mean, she's the one who tried to take away Twisted Sister and John Denver. She's never been no one's been a fan ever.
Wasn't that Tipper Gore too?
Yeah. To your point, but like the point is that nobody liked her. So for her to like ever be like, okay, we're gonna put her up, and then as time goes on, Trump's not gonna be more likable when he has like tested high with his television show. We literally have demographic Nielsen ratings that show where people are engaged with how he talks. Like, this is the part where they turned it up because he was there and he said that.
Right. Well, there's another big issue here, and that's that what I was told from the chair of the AIP, the American Independent Party for California. She told me that in the battleground states and a lot of places across the country that really matter, people are very conflicted around Trump because of COVID, because he's taken credit for the vaccine so often, and said that the lockdowns were a good thing, we did the right move, whatever. So like Nicole Shanahan, on the day that this announcement happened, said, we will not endorse Trump unless if he admits these errors. So I went to the farmer's market telling people, yeah, no, he says he supports, but it's not a full endorsement. Like, endorsement is relative. Is he not endorsing himself? He's still running. So like, if he's just taken himself off of 10 ballots in the battleground states, and he's still running, how is that endorsement a real endorsement? But I guess it's a battle of words, haven't you heard? But
I think the deal is that and we've said this before, that a guy who is a generational Democrat, running on Democratic policies, Canadian, that's cool. I can say Canadian because like it's not like normally you can't do that, but he's been running on those policies forever, and the Democratic Party is like not let him, to the point of near, like, people worrying that he might get Seth Riched. So yeah, that he would finally say, even if you're gonna try to stop me, I'm gonna do everything I can to disrupt the blue state votes. At this point, I think it was very clear at the beginning. Is like, I'm gonna watch both candidates. I'm probably not gonna be able to win, but I'm gonna be able to swing this because I'm going to be able to affect. So therefore, both candidates should be the best they can be. This is where we're at. Like, Trump is the best he can be. He's doing actually pretty impressive, and you have to admit that. Like, and a lot of people don't want to, but they are, and there it is. Kamala, well, my God, it's like the idea that she's slightly better than Biden is like saying that Diet Coke is better than New Coke. I get it.
I said that earlier today, dude. I said the exact thing earlier today because it's a fucking, it's a Pepsi advertisement. Like, all of that, like, she was down. Like, ever since Tulsi Gabbard freaking called her out on the 5,000 inmates that she refused to release despite a Supreme Court order multiple times because she said she needed them in the prisons for labor, for minor drug offenses. Supreme Court says release these 5,000 inmates. She refused. And then Tulsi Gabbard called her out on that in the last time she debated. And she hasn't debated since. And I don't think she's going to debate again. I think she's going to try and get out of it any way she can. Like, I don't know how she's going to do without a script. Like, she's asking apparently to be able to have seated debates with notes. Like, I don't know what the hell is happening. Like, she doesn't know what to say to those accusations because they're true. So yeah, I don't know, man.
I was just going to say that, like, I was feeling really down on the Trump campaign before this Kennedy merger. Like, I felt Trump had lost his mojo. He seemed weak and just kind of going along, and it really felt like the DNC machine was just gonna make it happen and make Kamala happen. But then the Kennedy thing happened, and that's completely transformed. So he seems to be like, now he's relying on other people to like draw energy.
It's suspended. His campaign is suspended, not terminated.
Okay,
so like,
well,
at any point,
it's not gonna matter.
I'm open to anything, man.
It does actually. Here's the reason it matters.
Sure.
Is, again, because the fact that it's on the ballots, and that's like the hope that his name stays on the ballots, that in those states where you can't expect red to win,
I thought
in
he
the
would
blue
take
state, you can
votes
take
from
chunks from
Trump.
that. Yeah. And so that's the thing you can do. You can see that it's going to push down the numbers all over the country.
The timing.
And so they, like, right before this, they could pretend the numbers up, or you could kind of fudge the fuzzy logic that things are pretty much like, oh yeah, Kamala's got pretty much the same chance as Trump. You almost could do that with the way CNN, Freudian slip, does things. Oh, that was bad. But
that was good Freudian slip.
but yeah, if you were to do that today, it won't work because now you look at RFK's numbers. And his numbers are, they were. If you pretended,
what are you saying? Numbers? Are you talking about polls?
I'm just saying the actual people, like you're saying, 1 million people. The actual people that like RFK, there's a lot more than people realize, and it's going to sway the election.
Way more than people realize. We're at all the registered voters in the swing states. It's 80 to 82, 81% independent. So like,
wow, that's way higher than I thought. I was gonna say like they could pretend it down to 5, even if it's 20.
No,
it's probably higher than that. Like,
we have 51% is technically independent in the U.S. 25% thereabouts for Republicans, 25% for Democrats. This has never happened before in history. That's why the DNC is losing it. That's why they couldn't give up, because they don't even care. They're like, we're going to waste your time. We're going to waste your energy, like to no end, and he can't campaign and be fighting these cases, including censorship cases with the White House. So, yeah.
We're talking about this like people who just started watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I've never seen Game of Thrones.
Good for you.
I'm really cool.
Do you have more numbers? Do you want to like throw up there, Alex?
Well, I guess another aspect of the thing was brought to my attention by Roger Stone, of all people, when he said 74 days away from the election. So they announced the Kennedy-Trump merger 74 days before the election, which is like, wow. Because 74 days is 1776 hours, which is a kind of great little sync that's 7/4/1776. It's like encoded in the timeline.
You had one of your parent thesis representations was 1776. I can't remember what it was, but you blew my mind more than once. But in one case, there was some 1776.
Yeah, 74 and 74 It's 2 times 37 also, so it's just
When I think of 1776, I think of the Illuminati, and Thomas probably does too. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well,
May
sure.
1st,
May
yeah.
1st. It's 74 days from May 1st to July 4th. So, too.
And you got 5-1, Area 51.
1776
There's so
hours.
many different threads when it comes to the 1776 and to the 5-1.
Well, also because 1776 is because you have to count 0. So you have 18, which is 3 6s, the holy number, and 76 is 77, which is Oz, is strength, right? So you have strength in the holy number. So it's also kind of like the
And
holy
and well,
ruler, the Melchizedek.
77 plus 76 is 153.
Oh,
And
okay.
153 is one of my
we
king
need
numbers.
like
Yeah, that's in
I
the
wish
canon,
Sam Newsman, I wish you did like a numerology Sesame Street. Well, you know what I mean? Like, because I feel like today could be brought to you by so many numbers at once. You know?
Hey, Alex, are you like super hip to the canon by William Sterling? It's abbreviated as the canon, but I feel like when you were here, I may have shown it to you. But it's the best book I've ever seen on esoteric math shit. It's like just a full download of like Masonic secrets with numerological stuff, and I think they go into 153 a lot in it. But yeah,
Well, I
Are
just
if
brought
we're
this
throwing
up.
books out, I have. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, real quick, because you mentioned Sesame Street, and I was just having at 153, and I remembered that Stanley Kubrick's death occurred precisely 1,530 weeks after Sesame Street premiered. So a
My God.
1530, perfect from Kubrick to Sesame Street.
dude. That's everything right now. Somebody asked in the comments earlier about PBS. Dude, PBS was the only station apparently to not censor RFK Jr.'s speech in some way. Like they'd either turn down his volume or cut it completely. But PBS is the one that, besides X, that just played the whole thing in its entirety. I'm dealing with people at the farmers market that did not watch the announcement. They watched some clips of the announcement and hours of commentary on the announcement, but not the announcement itself. So they don't even know that he's still running. But yeah,
I love this.
there you go. That's real.
I got another deep 1776 connection too, and it's from this book called Jesus Christ, Son of God, but it's SUN of God. It's like the best, in my opinion, non-schizo like gematria book I've ever come across my entire life. But they have this chart in it where they basically count multiples of 74, which they call the solar hierarchy. And one of those, actually the 24th iteration of that is 1776, which puts it directly between Christos, which is 1480, and Jesus Christos, which is 2368. So 1776 is right between those two.
Interesting.
Yeah, 74 divided by, or 1776 divided by 74 is 24. Yeah, so 24 times.
Thomas, you haven't seen William Sterling's The Canon?
I don't think so, no.
It's a must-have. I was told when I first saw it that there was like 300 copies in existence, and the writer of it was killed by Freemasons for releasing their secrets. I don't know if any of that is true, but it's an incredible book, though, man. It's one of the best.
What's the name of the book? William Sterling.
It's called the Canon by William Sterling.
Oh yeah, I think you did show me that when I was there.
You didn't. Did we mention the 93 day? Like the 93 days. The bear was 93 days.
Oh yeah, the bear was 93 days before the election.
So there's
19 days after. 19 days after the bear
17.
is the merger or whatever you want. I don't know what have a good thing to call it, but and then
76
days
plus 17 is 93. So it's also 1776 there.
Yeah. Oh my God. Trying to explain this to liberals to get them to not lose their minds is I'm like, dude, like for them, like, and myself, whatever. I'm like, God forbid we have a Trump presidency. Wouldn't you rather have people besides John Bolton and Mike Pompeo freaking making these calls? Like, I gotta say, like, I have a lot of criticisms of Trump, but I think one of the best things he did, of anything that he did that was really good during his presidency, was what he was trying to do with North Korea. And people lost their minds because they're like, whoa, no, nuclear war, don't talk to them. I'm like, people need to talk to each other. Why have we gotten to this place where diplomacy means not talking to anybody? Like Putin too. Like there's no communication. Like RFK reached out to, tried to reach out to Kamala, apparently, supposedly, but nothing. He said the only people he's spoken to, anywhere near Kamala is representatives from the DNC while they've been battling him in court for the signatures for the state ballots. He's, as far as I know, and I could be corrected on this, but I'm pretty sure he got every single state signatures for every single state. And so, and that's what they're going after. So if he's suspending his campaign, what's going to happen in October? Like, I don't know. I'm open for some big October surprise. I'm just going to put that out there. And it might not happen in October. It could happen sooner.
We better talk about twisters. But really, but before we do, last thing is, did you guys see Bernie Sanders with Slavoj Zizek? It's like 3 minutes long. Yeah, totally. I thought this was freaking awesome. You know, Bernie Sanders is just like, I gotta get out of this room. I gotta get out of here. And the whole thing is him just being like, I can't handle it, because he's proven to be not a Marxist. He's actually a Eurocentric Atlanticist oligarch. Right, and he's pretentious lies about his belief.
Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about Bernie, of course.
Yeah,
right?
Bernie just admitted on a podcast, last week, he said everything that we should know already about how he was sabotaged by the DNC, like just more outright than he had in the past. And so why is he then endorsing Kamala when he knows that the DNC basically rigged everything against him? Like, it's so weird.
Sheepdogs, bruh. Sheepdogs, bro.
Compromise.
Like, here's the other thing. Compromise is imagine what they've got from that guy's life. You know what I mean?
Did they?
Like, it's like Barney Fink, but times Epstein. You know,
it was like a week before his heart attack. I said on freaking Facebook, I was like, if anybody who's genuinely rocking the boat has a heart attack at any point, keep in mind, and I shared the link to the video, and I was like, dude, the heart attack gun is real. They passed it around the room with Kobe during that hearing, and like, I was like, dude, if anybody has a heart attack, keep in mind, this is how they can take somebody out, you know? And then it was like, Bernie has a heart attack. And then afterwards, it was like, oh, I guess that's it for everyone.
Barney Fink, I like to call him. Like,
I dropped a Bernie number in the chat there. If you want to check it out, because
I always got to point out whenever Barney Frank comes up, because it's not often anymore. But he is mentioned extensively in Franklin's scandal and in the Franklin cover-up, and that he was the OG Epstein for DC for a long time.
Word.
100%. Here's a good one. Bernard Sanders was born a precise 1053 weeks after the date of the Great Party. It's just a fact. Feel free to interpret how you like.
Oh yeah, my cheeky little thing. Yeah, it's just the 153.
Do you want to explain what the Great Party is?
Oh, that's the party at the end of The Shining. That the date at the end of The Shining, that in which Jack is trapped eternally. The July 4th ball, 1921, and yeah.
He totally has a Jack smile too. Yeah,
he does.
Smile.
Yep, I put that one there intentionally.
About the compromise thing too, and like Bernie, like why would he support Kamala? I mean, I know that this was like a parody movie, but the Free Lunch Express. Have you ever seen Free Lunch Express? It's basically a movie. It's an unofficial biography about Bernie Sanders' life. It's actually really good. It's a very low budget movie. Yeah, Freeland. I highly recommend it if you're even somewhat familiar with Bernie Sanders. But the basic premise is that in this book, he's like swears to never have a job, and he's always going to make money just from being like a career politician and leeching money off of people. But essentially,
and indeed he did.
You know? Right? How did I miss this one?
And that's how you would fall in line, is because like that's the only tit you've ever suckled at,
dude.
If they just put this on MTV like Napoleon Dynamite, Bernie would have been elected president, and we would have gone to hell a lot sooner. You know.
No, the DNC still wouldn't let it happen. But I appreciate your optimism, though. I liked Bernie Sanders beyond the sheepdog thing, you know. But did you guys ever hear
the sheepdog thing? I was like, if he doesn't, I'm gonna go with Trump. Like that word, like it is what it is, guys. And like people were like, no, Kamala. I just want to say,
well,
this also RFK
he's independent. He was never a Democrat. So
RFK Jr. did the right thing here with at the end saying, "Don't you want healthy children?" So like the deal here is, you had said, he could still change his mind. What would that do? Well, if right before the election he said, "Look, I don't think that Trump's going to renege vaccines, and that he's going to make sure that the children's health is the priority, and that healthy, natural clean water and things like that, so you can live. That's a priority. Then he could say, I'm no longer going to support that, and that would be as big of a trouble, I think, because the Democrats could swing it in their direction, as it would be as it was a help to him that he was endorsing him in the first place. Like, he could take it away as quickly as possible. So it is up to Trump to really like impress RFK. Otherwise,
Right.
he would just do that, I think.
Right. Yeah, interesting. Did you guys ever see, like, I think it was Code Pink had shown up at some government building that's supposed to be open to the public, whatever, but they were doing a protest and they didn't arrest everybody, but one guy got arrested for holding a sign that had a quote from Bernie Sanders from like a few months before, where it said his views on Ukraine and the war in Ukraine, and it was like completely the opposite of what he was saying at the time. And anyway, yeah, they arrested the guy holding the sign and let everyone else go. And I was like, what
It's
the
like
hell? Is this
it's
a
like
quote?
it's like Yugoslavia. You know, like
Yeah.
my dad was in Yugoslavia. I remember he told me he went into an opera or a theater, and as he was going in, the whole place was covered in pamphlets and flyers that were endorsing their support of, I forget if it was Romania or something like that, but there ended up being some contention with Romania at that time, and so by the time he got out of the theater, all the people who had like plastered the whole place with propaganda had to come back, and they'd removed every single one. Like, within the time that had happened, they'd all come and they just tore them all down. And it's just crazy because it's the same thing, but the amount of work that had to go into social media when it was physical before virtual, you know. Okay, also Veep, I wanted to say, because I mentioned, hey, there's a show about a lady who becomes president, and like, has anyone seen it? I finally got around to watching the episode, and it was a little too late for the sync, because her boss, who's the president, decides not to run for a second term, and so she gets to run for president. That's literally the plot of Veep, of her becoming president.
Yeah, weird.
Just like too much predictable.
It's also just how he talks in it is like Kamala. Like, it's like a pretty uncanny. Right?
Yeah, this is their playbook. I'm starting to realize it's. I mean, right? What else is there?
Yeah, that's really weird. It's I don't know, man. Oh.
What about Starlink?
Oh.
I got more. What about Starlink to provide free global emergency calls? What do you think? All over the world, anywhere you go, 911, Starlink.
911.
Well, it's something like it. I guess, what is an emergency call? You know what I mean? That's the question.
I don't know. It wasn't 911 before 1968.
So you can be arrested no matter where you are.
Yeah, basically.
Well, also, is this almost like maybe this is more obvious than I realize, but this is kind of Elon Musk positioning himself as providing like a global service that will then become almost like an essential service, right? Well, people are going to be protesting because they don't have Starlink access, or as soon as that becomes the norm for a lot of people in so many ways, because that's kind of what happens in the US, right? If someone starts providing a service and it becomes so ubiquitous, it kind of gets converted into like a government service where they can start regulating or they can start getting some ownership. But what happens when you provide that at like a global setting?
Facebook's
right?
doing this in India, right? Where Facebook says you can access the Wi-Fi network from our drones that is Facebook, and you can get on to Facebook. But if you want to use that for the rest of the internet, you have to pay us.
Right. Well, but now you basically have like entire communities, maybe even countries that might be like willing to fight for Coca-Cola or Facebook or whatever in these cases, right? Because they're the ones that are providing more support. This would almost be like African villages fighting for MrBeast, or on his behalf, because he represents more infrastructure or more support than any government that they've ever come in contact with.
Did they take MrBeast down because he got too powerful, and that's why? Or
well, he announced he was joking about running for president, and like within 24 hours, it was like, oh, how about this and this and this and this.
I have a few thoughts on all this, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. Do you guys want to go into the MrBeast thing?
Sure.
Okay, so like MrBeast was in an article from Business Insider last year, 2023, where he said he believes he's, quote, gonna get canceled over his latest video. And this is before the controversy really hit, but this was the building the wells in Africa thing. And you might think, okay, whatever, but no, in conjunction with what you just said, it's a really big deal that these are people that Coca-Cola or Nestle, like you said, they have no other access to water. And these people that can sell water for the same price as Coca-Cola, they control these communities. It's just a fact. Everywhere you go where they're not allowed to collect rainwater because of some weird Agenda 21 law, these people are forced into purchasing water, and the infrastructure is displaced on purpose. It's not just nepotism and corruption. It's also enforced scarcity and infrastructure.
Well, you know, as a matter of fact, that this isn't a theory because you guys are probably familiar with that video that was like a leak because it was supposed to just go to other executives or whatever, CEOs or whatever. But Nestle had made a video giving a pitch for that of why they believed, or the head of Nestle believed, that water was not a human right, and how do we commodify
Yeah,
this
it's completely
to
their business plan. I mean, it's like Logitech saying they want to sell you a subscription mouse. You know, like the whole thing is just the way businesses work. A subscription printer where you pay monthly for your printer. Like the whole idea that but to water, all the way down to water.
Right.
And it's okay for you because you already live in this synthetic poodle reality, you know, in your apartment. But these are people that used to gather firewood, and they're not allowed to do it now because you made a law against it because you thought, you know what I mean? Like
absolutely. So
but MrBeast has a. Okay, go ahead. Actually,
you go ahead, sir. Sorry.
No, I can wait a second. I'm sorry. You got a thought?
No. I might take 2 seconds. You go ahead.
Okay, babe. Beast Philanthropy is a better channel than MrBeast. Like the only channel better. Let's put it that way. I mean, also, I wanted to say, like, Beast Philanthropy isn't just MrBeast. It's like these people that were all of these different charities that he found that were working, and he just accelerated them. As all of a sudden, get them a truck, get them a vehicle, get them a power plant, okay? And the most recent, like, video he did, because he's done a lot of cool things. Like, he's training teachers, he's sending teachers from all over the world to educational things so they can spread out and teach people, building houses in Argentina and in Brazil, setting up water and, you know, all these things. Africa, he's built those wells. But the newest one's in Kenya. And I don't know if I can get, if do I have to go to Beast Philanthropy YouTube? This is the video that's really, I think, his final, like, I don't care what you do to me. Like, I'm already at this level. So, is this the one? No, there's a new video now already? Jeez. No, okay, we saved endangered animals from extinction. So this video here, he goes to Kenya. And in Kenya, as you might know, there's a lot of exploitation. There's a lot of the elite are able to control the land, but there's also a lot of tribes that live as naturally as they have for as long as they could ever have lived. And the land that they live on was sold by the state to these conservatorships, essentially. So they're like, we need to make sure these elephants are safe. We're going to have a conservatorship to protect it. They have no money. They're constantly robbing the people. And then the people who live on the land, they're getting exploited constantly. And this all works because they like, why does Kenya need to pay to exist? Like, these are land, it's because of a weird serfdom thing. And while they're doing it, they're trying to protect these rhinoceroses, which is like 26,000 rhinoceroses in the world left at all. But a lot of them are in Kenya. And this is where the elite go and poach them. You know, you have hunters that are like the royal family, and they'll come and they'll kill them. So anyway, the way he figured this out is he said, okay, there's carbon tax credits. And you guys might know carbon tax credits are an elite scam where a corporation will buy tax credits from a guy. A guy's maybe got a business where he cleans windows in one town. If he drives to the next town, he's using too much carbon, and in Europe that's illegal. So instead of doing his job, he'll sell his carbon credits, right? And now all of a sudden, Nestle has 1 billion people's carbon credits, and they can use them to like just burn like fire, like Burning Man style, where, you know, they could microplastics wherever you want. What he did was he set up businesses for these conservatorships with lawyers and everything else like that, and install like wind turbines and things like that so that they can sell their carbon tax credits. And now all of a sudden there's a sustainable source of income for all of these tribes, for like many tribes, like I think like 16 tribes in Kenya that all of a sudden are now autonomous in a way that they could never have been before, and all through the systems that the elite have been using to exploit them, right? And this is what he's been doing. And so from when he started doing this, I noticed, like, I used to go
You just
travel
bought
and you
Bitcoin
open up,
miners.
you go on YouTube, you open up a TV in another country or anywhere in the world, and it's like to YouTube, you don't have to be logged in. And what is the first video it's going to suggest to you? It's a MrBeast video, right? Up until a month ago. And now I don't see that. You don't get a suggestion for a MrBeast video, even if you're like a subscriber. Like, I know kids, like Brittany's kids, like they wait for every video. They don't show you it. You have to go look for it. They're trying to bring him down. It's super obvious.
I don't
They do it.
Yeah, I don't know all the details, but I do know that if anybody's actually doing real philanthropy and not just like the Bill Gates fake philanthropy where he says, "Oh, we're looking for a vaccine for leprosy." And then meanwhile, we have cures for leprosy. Like we have a whole regimen that works with antibiotics for leprosy, but there's no money in it.
Yeah.
So if there's no money in it, he's not going to do it. So it's fake philanthropy. So my question would be to MrBeast, is this an example of genuine philanthropy or is it some elaborate scam? And I'd have to go into the details to know for sure.
So far, like, from all the videos I've seen, it's super based. He's building houses for as many people as possible and finding already existing experts in those places. And then he's just like, kind of like, like in a movie, you know, where like a reality show where somebody wins a prize, only it's like somebody who can, like, I'm going to use this money to take care of my family and my world, which sells really well. Like it's true that that's like a really marketable thing. Like people miss the point that it is marketable, but it is helping people in a way that's getting him in trouble. Like they don't like that he's doing that at all. Like he's completely changed the world.
What was the Bill Hicks bit about? Was it the marketing thing where he's like, "Are there any marketers out there?" And he's just like, "Go kill yourselves" or whatever. I should be careful.
Yeah, and then he was like, and then some guy, there's a
censorship
marketer in the audience. He's like, he's going after that anti-marketing dollar. What a smart dollar that is.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's also that he's got 300 million. Like he did this big push recently to get to 300 million subscribers.
Yeah.
So he has like more subscribers than the United States has citizens and taxpayers. His idea of being, you know, he's become a thing that's
digital
hard for them to
autonomous.
He figured out, like, he won YouTube because he figured out how to get to the point where you could actually you could beat it. He beat the game. He beat the game, and now he's like out. Like he's seeing the credits rolling for YouTube. That's what
and
it
it's a
feels
gun
like.
in his face, telling him to get back in the inside.
I legit, yeah, I'm not kidding. I legit pray for Jimmy Donaldson's life. I mean, like you were talking about, they're trying to assassinate people all the time.
Right.
All right.
Interesting.
Like, I'm not kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
What about Jan Broberg? Anybody?
I don't know who Jan Broberg is.
Thomas put that in the chat.
Did you have some for this, Thomas? This is your link. That was like a
Can't really hear it.
pretty hot segue to you. No?
He might be muted or something.
Let's just put it on the
You
screen.
pull it back up. That was from like last week, wasn't it?
How are you supposed to read with those glasses on? Can you do that?
Yeah, bro.
I can. Yeah, the problem is just my screen is like 5 inches large. Oh. So this is a dude. How did this even come up? Someone. This was in context to something someone said, but this was a TV show based on a real story where a guy convinces a young girl that he's an alien from outer space, and he's like, it's just like a typical grooming story, but he's grooming her in that he's an alien, and he's like, I'm gonna take you back to my mothership, and these sort of like alien entities have decided that me and you need to be together. And the wildest thing is that the chick that it happened to, she plays like a therapist in the show, and before the show even starts and when it ends, she kind of breaks the fourth wall and addresses the audience. And it's like, this could happen to anyone. But the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just thinking, like, I don't know if this could happen to literally anyone. Like, some guy shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm an alien. Leave your window unlocked tonight." Like, I don't know.
Oh God.
It was in context of something though. It wasn't just completely non sequitur.
I saw that there's a doc on bad vegans, and it's like on the raw food place. And it's not on Gratitude Cafe. It's on like Fresh Food and Wine, that one from New York. But the guy who she was married to convinced her he was going to make her and her dog immortal, which sounds crazy unless you know raw food vegans. You know what I mean? But
Or have one foot in the other realm.
what about friend and a friend of the family? Is this? Oh, that's the movie.
This is the show based on that story. It is so wild. I swear, it's a really great show too.
So, what about golf? Golf is a really weird game. So I was looking into golf, and I was wondering about it because you figure like golf is crazy. It's just you get these like crazy giant flat lands that could be used for housing or like anything, and they're just using that land. I think George
We should have Bill on for that. Bill is like he's rated so like his record or whatever you call it for like his stats for virtual golf or like
virtual
saying like it's like tens of thousands of people and he's like in the top 200 or something. I don't know, man. He kills it at the virtual golf, man.
I'm
beyond that,
sure I've gone down this rabbit hole, and it really does seem that golf was literally invented by and for Freemasons, and that the establishment of the very first exclusive golf clubs were specifically to weed out non-Masons so that they couldn't even get access to like these nice golf courses.
With the caveat that it wasn't invented by them, actually. It was actually invented by
the
Tartarians.
sport itself was not invented by Freemasons, but the whole concept of it being an exclusive thing for like high society and
this is true.
Literally excluding others from it, that's the Freemason part.
So golf comes from Kolf, right? Kolf is the Netherlander Kolf, right? Which is the game that was played, the Netherlander Kolf is the Dutch game. But as you know, the Dutch get a lot of their things from the Arabs, and the Arabs get a lot of their things from even further east. So there's a game that's older than Kolf called Chaiwan or Chuwan, right? Shuwan, which is called ball hitting. And this is a game that's at least 1,000 years old that the Tartars played, where they hit balls with sticks and they have to hit them into holes. And there's like an entirely large field and everything like that. And so some people argued that it was more like mini golf, and I think that's even cooler. But the point being that golf is also hyper Kabbalistic in every way. You've got 18 holes, and so I kind of wanted in like 336 divots on a golf ball, right? So I kind of wanted to do like a
how many divots?
Well, hold on, right? Well, I show you, because what I did was I said to the internet, I said, ChatGPT, like golf is a tradition from blah blah blah. Write a paper like Jay Coates, and it just went through it, and it was just like, oh yeah, for sure. The number 18 representing the holes in a standard golf course, significant role in Kabbalistic, associated with the meaning of life, chai, right?
High
life. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Wait, let me get down to the golf ball. Where's the 336 dimples? 336 dimples is not a random design choice, but rather a precise geometric pattern. The number of 336 can be explored as 3 plus 3 plus 6 equals 12, often associated with completeness, 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 tribes of Israel, and 12 apostles. But if we consider 336 in the context of numerology, we might further reduce 12 to 3, 1 plus 2, a number symbolizing creativity, communication, and divine trinity. Thus, the golf ball, not just a tool, but a symbol of the interconnectedness of all things, the potential for creation, and the journey towards divine unity. Right? And then clubs, wood, iron, wedges, putter, representing air, earth, water, fire. Dude. AI like cooks.
Yeah. So in Melancholia, the Lars von Trier film, there's like Kiefer Sutherland at one point, I believe he brags about his golf course and says on an 18-hole golf course on his property. And then at the beginning of the movie, in that first sequence, when it's kind of like they show you this vignette of all of these things that are going to happen later, they show you Charlotte Gainsbourg walking in slow motion at the hole that's the 19th hole. And like, I don't know, like I like you were mentioning earlier, Alex, like I trip out on the 19 thing. Like when I think 19, I'm thinking of the sun in tarot, like the sun, the Trump arcana of the sun is the 19th arcana, right? And then like coronavirus, like COVID-19, and the way that like, like even coming from 2019 and into 2020, like there's I don't know, like don't they say that with COVID-19 it was discovered in 2019? That's why they called it COVID-19.
Yeah, the circular form of the golf ball itself, a powerful symbol representing wholeness, unity. In Kabbalistic thought, the circle is the symbol of the Ein Sof, the infinite, unknowable aspect of the divine. The act of putting the ball into the hole can be seen as a symbolic journey of the soul, striving to return to its source, the divine unity.
You too good for your home? Go to your home.
It's going to be a Happy Gilmore too. I mean, hey, so
Golf is
Okay.
golf is
We're
happening.
talking about other letters. What's happening?
Alice Cooper plays golf. Jack
Happy Gilmore.
Nicklaus is a great golfer. Jack
Nicklaus
from The Shining. He's a shining example of good golf.
but he's called the Golden Bear.
No,
No, really?
No, he is.
Jack Nicklaus is called the Golden Bear as a nickname or what?
Golden Bear.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
and
out of
what
The
control.
gold room and the bear going down on the wait, what is happening?
and what's even more is that I just pulled this up that the day that Jack Nicholson was only married once in his life to an actress named Sandra Knight. But the day that he married her was the day that Jack Nicklaus won his first golf tournament. So that's pretty weird sync.
Come on.
I mean,
This is in with Gerald Ford.
what now?
Oh, dude.
Oh, there it is.
Oh yeah. Bill just called it. He's like AI equals 19 because A is the
Oh, yeah.
first letter of the alphabet. You know.
Well,
Also,
I like
the letter
it,
S.
you know, QAnon was
Sesame
all about
Street,
17.
whatever,
17,
1919.
17 is 18 because of 0. 18, we know we're talking about life and, you know, L'Haim.
Right.
And 19 also then, because, I mean, if we're following the pattern here, you know.
Well, two suns in the sunset, you have the 17th arcana is the star, which people associate with Sirius. So maybe, you know, yeah, I don't know.
The 19-year
Fair enough.
cycle.
Let's be honest with it. That Freemasons completely changed golf. They made it a new game. They got. Sorry, I didn't mean to pull you out for that. They made it a super
19th
awesome,
hole is the bar after golf. Yeah,
they
that's
made
a
it a
good.
super awesome insular sport that only the elite could play. Because at first golf was forbidden because like the Dutch were doing it, and so they're like, that's probably a little edgy. They made the Asians and the Arabs are doing that. We shouldn't have our good clean stock doing it. Eventually, the Scottish Freemasons are like, yeah, let's play golf. Let's like only let us do it though. We don't want to let other people know that we're playing golf. This is like our secret thing. And then the elite were like, well, this is the most secret place. We're way out, far from people. There's no way that anyone can be here. It's the safest place to have conversation.
Well,
What-
that
what-
article they mentioned in particular, there was a golf club called the Knuckle Club, and what happened is that over time they got together and they decided to only golf when the non-Masons weren't around, and they almost like it was the club started as them avoiding everyone else, but over time this became like, oh, what are those like elite guy, and they kind of formed like one of the very first exclusive elite golf clubs. And from there, the rules about even being able to play at some of those courses was that you had to be a Mason, and that was only removed like a few hundred years later.
What about Pell Mell that we got croquet from or whatever? Isn't Pell Mell? Well, you say Pall Mall. If I'm buying a pack of Pall Mall cigarettes, like if I say Pell Mell, which is the correct pronunciation, they're like, what? And I'm like, Pall Mall. And they're like, okay, here you go. But if you watch old advertisements, they always say Pell Mell. But anyway, it's a game that's kind of similar to golf. That's, I believe, the game that they're playing in Alice in Wonderland with the flamingos. Like,
but basically, that's a way
croquet.
cooler game, and I'll admit it. Like, if you can get a croquet set up, I will be there. I mean, wait, there you go. Pell Mell. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pell Mell, right? Pell Mell.
I'm just going by what I've seen in advertisements from like the 50s, and they'll be like,
this is
"Ooh."
further proof to me that it's a Tartarian game, and again that it's so much closer to it. I mean, you can tell like by the outfits, but also it looks more like the Chua Mai game, like the old Shu Mai ball hitting Chinese game. It's a little bit more similar to that, but you know, is what it is. How about Douglas Kenny though? National Lampoon, Caddyshack, lots of cocaine. SNL stole everything he's got. What about Caddyshack? Died at 33, just like Christ.
You know what? I gotta say,
Look at the 19 there.
Caddyshack is about Trump becoming president.
19 on the
right?
flag.
I think you might be. I think
Trump
you're
is
right.
Trump is the Caddyshack, and so he's got this club that people go to that he gets to kind of run, and they don't treat him like an equal because he's not a member of the club. He's just a Caddyshack, and so eventually, because he's hanging out with them all the time, and they get used to him. They think he's a nebbish. They're not really that worried about him. He pulls the fast one and ends up in charge of the entire golf club, and they all get pushed out, and that's just how things go. That's kind of what they did in the first place.
Every day. Then what's the problem? Sorry.
Right? And it's like you got, and the guy, and this is the other thing is that Chevy Chase is basically like President Ford in SNL. So he's showing you like he's the only one in balance because he's the only one who can live in this system, right?
Yeah.
And he's the president.
The thing is, though, is that like his creative choices on Caddyshack to not have the the gopher and the gopher Kong or any like that's one of the best parts of the movie. Like Bill Murray like going after that gopher and then he's just like doesn't want the gopher in the movie and they're like the gopher stays in the picture.
You gotta edit a movie before you make calls. And the fact that he didn't get it is because he's an actor. And the fact that he didn't get it is also why he's not a director. You know what I mean? And
No.
I'm not talking about Chevy Chase. I'm talking about the guy that you were talking about that wrote it.
Douglas? Douglas wasn't for it?
No. That was something that like the studio was for or whatever, and he was like, and like Caddyshack 2, what would even Caddyshack 2 be worth though without the dancing gopher?
No,
Sorry, I'm a sucker for the gopher, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think it's one of the best parts of the movie.
You can't have Caddyshack without the gopher. Like that is,
Right.
you know, I feel like there's something to that too. The fact that he hated the gopher. He didn't.
Oh, he's got that
understand the
Kentucky
gopher.
bluegrass right there.
Oh, that's real. Caddyshack's a great movie. Golf is a day spent in a round of strenuous idleness.
Yeah,
it's true. Mark Leclerc, our friend Wrong Way Wizard, had an article he wrote called "The Nazi Golfers from the Future."
That's right.
And which was a fun read, but it's kind of a pessimistic thing. But I pulled it up, and there's just a little bit I'll read where actually he's talking about the Sophia Stewart thing. If you guys remember that, where the lady claims she wrote The Matrix and the Terminator and everything.
Yeah.
So he's writing about that, but he says, it seems obvious that she has not, nor will she receive any money, regardless of any judgment in her favor. These big judgments against the rich and powerful are never actually paid. They represent a kind of kangaroo court in which the guilty party is chastised with a hollow economic penalty, which is then dragged through appeal after appeal until the injured party is broken on the wheel. The position and power held by the guilty is not altered or weakened in the slightest. These overlords have invented the principles of social revolution and transcendental metamorphosis as a false front, a form of entertainment, to keep the little people at work turning the satanic mill for the pleasure and comfort of the Nazi golfers from the future.
Totally.
You're thinking, and I mean, that's kind of Trump. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He spent a lot of time golfing, that guy, man. There was that website that you could go to see how many hours he was spending golfing through.
It might be from the future. Like, wow. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's my feelings. I'm like, cool, play golf. If it turns out that that's the way that this whole thing plays out, that RFK is picking a cabinet and whatever, I'm like, dude, go play golf. We'll take care of things. It's all right, you know.
One thing legitimately I think about golf is the whole like privacy aspect of like you're going out there, like you're doing business, you're talking your stuff, but like you're in an open air environment, and it seems to be like that's his office. That's
the whole idea, right? Isn't it, Thomas? Like, isn't the notion that for as far as its connection to Freemasonry, you're out here conversations, no way for anybody to tap you, just like whispering out in the middle of a field, but you're playing a game. So who's gonna? You know, it's just like the perfect excuse to be away from everything, you know?
Well, the Dulles brothers famously made lots and lots of government deals on golf courses as well. They were huge golfers. So, like, if you wanted to get any sort of policy enacted, you better go and play golf with the Dulles brothers.
That's why
Space Jam proves that golf courses are holes to the hollow earth, or doors to the hollow earth.
Clearly.
Everyone. Mariah Carey, her mother passed away, and her sister passed away at the same time. What do we have? Some of that is kind of
same day.
Kind of synchronicity.
Yeah.
Well, is it a sync or is that the story? Like they tie together?
I guess. I mean, her mom's 86. Her sister's like 55 or 60 or something like that.
Right, so, but they died together. How did they die? Like, I
no, they died at different places, right? A different time, the same day though. So, I don't think it's clear to just explain how she died. Sister lost her life the same day. I feel blessed that I was able to spend the last week with my mom before she passed, adds Mariah. I appreciate everyone's love and support. No other details, including Patricia Nelson's cause of death, are known at this time. Patricia was previously married to Alfred Roy Carey, a Juilliard-trained opera singer. The couple welcomed Allison, Mariah, and son Morgan. The parents later divorced when the hero singer was 3 years old. Mariah's relationship with her mother from whom her vocal talents were inherited, was complicated throughout her life. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, different places. Her mom dies. Her sister dies. We're not saying this is some sort of satanic sacrifice to make her relevant again.
I mean, I would have just assumed it's a COVID vaccine thing. Oops, I shouldn't have said that.
At the same time, though, on the same day, even that's a little.
Well,
well, if they got the injection on,
they might have. They fucking might have.
They were doing 2-for-1s at the Krispy Kreme, so why not?
They got Krispy Kreme out of the deal.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned pro wrestling in the comments earlier, and this Mariah Carey news caught my eye because the same day in an all elite wrestling, Mariah May won the women's world title in this big storyline, which is actually cinematic because her opponent, whose name is Toni Storm, is in this like 30s starlet gimmick where she's pretending she's like Joan Crawford or whatever. And she's like losing her mind, doesn't know what's going on. Anyway, that I don't know. It was just a Mariah sync.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Okay.
And pro wrestling's always like lightning rod for shit like that. So
right. I feel like I've talked about this here, but isn't it weird that Faye Dunaway like totally became Joan Crawford in real life? Like if you go to YouTube and you look up, like if you type in Faye Dunaway answering machine and you just hear her like going off on somebody about like she sounds exactly like Joan Crawford in the character. This is it. Yeah. But yeah, the character that she played in Mommy Dearest, she like actually became that in real life. And she's talking about don't mention Mommy Dearest like in anything. Like she's like, just talk about that I was with Marlon Brando and Johnny Depp. Like I don't want to talk about Mommy Dearest. And she's like being Joan Crawford. Like it's so weird. Like I don't know.
She's possessed probably.
It seems like it feels like a one of those like Joker things, like with Jack Nicholson warning Heath Ledger. He's like, "Oh man, you play this part, like you're in for it." I feel like that happened with.
And then Heath Ledger, I'm talking about 153. His whole lifespan was exactly 1,503 weeks, which was one of the earliest things I discovered. I was like, "What the hell?" But I recently learned that that span of time. Which I already knew, I connected it to an orbit of Saturn, like a Saturn return, because I noticed it when I went through it myself.
26 years or something. I thought, yeah. What is
it's 28 to 30, but it's like technically 29. But what I realized is that 1,503 weeks, the actual the scientific length of a Saturn orbit is exactly 237 days longer than 1,503 weeks. So Heath Ledger died 237 days exactly before his exact Saturn return.
Interesting.
Pretty weird. And that's kind of a segue for me. I'm going to start bragging or plug myself because this is the newest issue of Bitcoin Magazine here, the privacy issue. And I am published in it. I have an article on called... See if this is going to show up.
You're kidding me. Give me time.
Yeah, it's going to give me time. I can't get it.
Remember the song I played earlier? Give me time. Oh my gosh. Remember, what did I say earlier? Like my new tenets of X Church are. I believe in the future. I believe in a better tomorrow. Time is on my side.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. So is that the first page of an article? Because I read that page. Is it, okay, cool.
Yes. There's like several more pages. It's quite long. But anyway, I'm quite happy about it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my it's like the first time I've ever been in print, and it's for something like absolute like total craziness.
Weren't you in one of the sync books?
No, never was.
Really?
No.
Oh, that feels like some kind of travesty.
But I actually reference the sync book in this piece and quote marks.
Blame Travis.
Oh, nice. Good.
Here's the book itself. There's Bitcoin Magazine, the privacy issue. You can get yourself a copy, and you can check right here: Bitcoin, Saturn, and Synchronicity. Straight up, dude. Like, look at this. This is so good.
Pretty cool. I'm happy.
I mean, the art. I will actually need to get a copy of this. I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, it's friggin' beautiful. So anyway, yeah, that's my deal.
All right, one more thing before Twisters. Burning Man participant 39 dies first day of counterculture festival. Sacrifices what? Go.
Again, Bakuna.
I'm sorry. I don't like this is like any city of the same size for that length of time in the US, you're gonna have deaths. Like I've seen so many people die at Burning Man. Like my first year, somebody hung themselves behind our camp and we thought it was an art installation, and then it turned out no, that's a person back there. And kind of a Wizard of Oz kind of, whatever. But I watched somebody run into the man my first year also. So like after he collapses, and there's just this giant pile of flames, like we all ran towards it. Like every year since my first year, they wouldn't let anyone get that close, at least for, a while, like, as it's settling or whatever. But I watched a dude just run into the fire. And I know that there's no way he survived that. Like, and I was like, did I really just see that? Like, while I'm charging with all these people, like, am I shoes melted, like, because you're like walking on the embers or whatever?
I've been seeing a lot more like gore content, like on X. It's just like putting it on your feed, and I'm like seeing this stuff, like people getting shot in the street and Gazan children being like heads being ripped apart, and like what so but it's just weird thing to be exposed to, like death.
It's horrific, dude. I was walking one time on one of the side streets at Burning Man, and there was a dragon that somebody had built that was just breathing fire randomly into the walkway. And I'm walking with this girl, and her hair caught fire for a second. She's like screaming, and it was like she burnt her face. Like, and I was like looking around. I was like, whose dragon is this? Like, why would you just leave this like directed at the pathway? I was like, this is so insane and random. And I'm like, well, maybe, I don't know, man. But yeah, no, I have a hard time. Like the whole thing is like, seems to be based on like the layout of like Dionysian theater. And it's like supposed to be like the People's Bohemian Grove or something. But, it's all at this point, whatever it is, it's relative. I don't know.
Well, not to be
the
disrespectful.
It's the rich people still. It's just it's Bohemian Grove, the next generation.
Yeah, but if the rich people show up, we'll steal their water. Like if when Kanye showed up, he got his water stolen, like all of it, and then they flew it in. Somebody brought more water for him.
I think the idea of being able to go to a desert and survive it kind of implies that you like it's like a benchmark of Maslow hierarchy of need. Like to get there, you had to do something with your life, at least lie, cheat, and steal, or something that you're stable enough to get there and survive in the desert for a week. You know what I mean?
It's on the back of your ticket that if you die or if you get injured, it's on you. Like that's the contract that you're agreeing to. So, I mean, if you want to argue that, this is a ritual sacrifice thing, I think the whole thing could be that on some level.
We should make t-shirts that say like, I went to Burning Man and all I got was chlamydia in this stupid t-shirt. I don't know. Okay, so RFK Jr. vows to stop chemtrails after watching video conspiracy. Trump team won't condemn RFK Jr.'s, quote, chemtrails, quote unquote, conspiracy, says campaign proud to have him on board, even despite that. And twisters go.
Any headline any headline that you see with RFK Jr., go to the source as best as you can find it, because almost every time it's like a straw man or some version of it.
But
like,
this one was based. He was like, after seeing what they're doing with geoengineering, we're going to vow as our campaign to stop this kind of geoengineering and make sure that there's awareness about what kind of geoengineering is happening around the world.
Are they dropping aluminum on us and causing more forest fires by making shit more flammable?
It could be, or a corporation that's in another country. It could be a lot of different things than just the United States. And I think that's kind of the thing here. You can't stop chemtrails, but you could, as the government of the United States and with the people's occupied attention, probably do make a dent in it. And the fact that Twisters comes out, what's a movie like Twisters to do about this? It's about a group of people that are going to put silver oxide into the clouds, like we were saying, in order to genetically modify clouds, right? So they're doing geoengineering. It's the whole point of the movie. Right, so they can save the world.
I felt like that. Speaking of that movie now, they didn't like in the first scene. It seems like they actually they put their stuff into the tornado, and it actually like expanded the tornado and turned it into the F5, which led to killing them. But then like they never like went anywhere with that, so I wasn't sure if that was even what I was reading that correctly.
I mean, they end up using it to first triangulate. First, they're triangulating so they can 3D scan the thing, The other thing they're doing is they're injecting it with silver, which means that they can control and diffuse the thing. So at the end of the movie, when they're at the Frankenstein, instead of the Shining at the theater, they're at the Frankenstein. We've created a monster. The theater explodes, but they put silver into it all of a sudden, and it opens up. The heavens open up. It's this sort of like Ascension of Christ looking shot that happens.
But the first time they do it, like, they're suddenly like, how did it get so big? So like the first time they do it, it expands it. It doesn't dissipate it. It expands it, makes it worse. So I thought, like, that's an interesting, like, wrinkle that they're actually
Genie in a bottle, baby.
they don't know what they're doing. Like they think that they're going to do this thing, but it's actually going to, like, make things just exponentially worse. So, but I like the choice of Frankenstein there at the end.
At that point, they're hitting you over the head. They're like, we know you're like 30 IQ points or 50 less than the average citizen was when we put out The Shining. So let's just, boom, I've created a monster. Chemtrails. That's, I think but you've got also some numerology syncs with Twister. What do you think about that?
Well, with Frankenstein is the thing that I talk about the Joan Crawford movies, Possessed, over and over. And so the first one being the first time I think 237 shows up in movies was in a movie called Possessed, which released the very same day as Frankenstein in 1931. So November 21st, 1931, they had Frankenstein and Possessed. And Possessed
Donald Sutherland died 666 hours before before Twisters came out.
Yeah, man, that too.
Didn't Jake Kotza have a great, like, Leslie Nielsen video where he's talking about, like, Repossessed and 2001: A Space Travesty and, like, all it, like, I feel like that was him. Maybe it was Kevin Halcott or something, but I remember it was like, wow, Leslie Nielsen actually has some crazy sync depth going on.
He also does Bad Golf My Way, which is the greatest golf tutorial and the only golf tutorial I've ever watched.
That sounds awesome. I will watch that tonight.
The only golf lessons I've ever had. I saw this at 6 years old, but I think I was like 5. I didn't completely understand that any of these were jokes. I just thought this was, kind of like when you first watch Ace Ventura and you think it's normal what he's doing until, like, you have social cues. I was like, oh, this is what golf is. And, like, yeah, you should just, pay a guy off for golf.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a joke until he actually gets to the door with the package and after the credits, because, like, that happens all the time with UPS. They just destroy your packages. They don't care. Like, that was real. I was like,
100% 2001: A Space Travesty.
I love the fact that he's carrying a box and smashing
question.
the thing.
This is a great movie, Space Travesty, actually. I kind of recommend people...
Sync-wise, there's actually some redeeming things, but beyond sync, I don't know, man. I mean, even Airplane 2 was a play on 2001: A Space Odyssey, so this is kind of like a parody on a parody.
No, man, this is Hillary Clinton references everywhere, every direction.
Hey, I got a message from somebody talking about the Mariah Carey thing, and they were saying it could have been a Carrie Fisher, Debbie Reynolds situation, because it was like Carrie Fisher died and then Debbie Reynolds died, it was just boom, boom. Yeah, I don't know. Have to go into the details.
Carrie Fisher, born on October 21st, Back to the Future Day.
Do you remember when Carrie Fisher had that tweet about when she was asked about Trump having during the debate with Hillary, and they're like, Coke, and she was like, I'm an expert, and absolutely, and then she died shortly after that. And then these debates, he said, apparently this is supposedly what I heard, I could be corrected, but I heard that Trump was like, no, we're going to do drug tests, no one's gonna, make sure, whatever. And I'm just like, dude, you know that Biden's doing research chemicals, but before every time he talks, probably Kamala too, whatever. And then it was like that was what did it for him with that debate. He was like, I can't do research chemicals, and Trump was just like, I can debate without Coke.
Meanwhile,
I don't need Coke to do it.
Meanwhile, Trump is like talking to Theo Vaughn about cocaine, like he's never done it.
I love it. It's like you show people how naive you can be if you want to. If you really apply yourself, you could be naive. Good job, Trump. I don't know. But anything about Twisters? Anything else?
He went through the 80s. I had a weird... I mean, this is really meaningless, I think. But
the Hitman guy?
But the Daisy Jones here, like, I spent the whole movie thinking she looked like this other actress, Chloe Bennett. Wow. Chloe Bennett, who played Daisy Jones on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then I realized, wait, this actor's name is Daisy Jones.
Oh, that's
and
pretty
it's like, well, that's fucking weird. It's really kind of a low stakes sync there, but I was just
well,
like,
no, that's all right because you can.
But
take it further
Daisy
with
Jones is quick,
and the
and she
Six.
like.
Did you watch the movie Daisy
Right.
Jones and the Six?
No, I didn't.
Daisy Jones the Six is an American musical. It's a miniseries. It's based on the 2019 novel the same name, set in Los Angeles in 1970s.
Got Elvis's granddaughter in it.
Oh gosh, you got to see Daisy Jones and the Six. I mean, I think there's.
Do you really?
Were
you just saying that?
I am not just saying that. It's about Laurel Canyon, and you got to know about this.
Because I can't hug all the cats, dude. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get that.
Well, I had one thing to add onto the whole like chemtrails and silver iodide and Twister stuff, and that's that whenever anyone does debate or deny the concept of chemtrails, one of the very first bills that got submitted to the House right after 9/11, within I think like 2 weeks, was the Space Preservation Act. It was HR 2977, and in HR 2977 Section 7B2, it specifically details chemtrails under the banner of exotic weapon systems. So, and not that this one got passed, and not that this means that it's defined as this exact thing, but there is absolutely documented precedent forever and ever, enclosed in our legal history, that chemtrails have been acknowledged by the highest levels of government, not just as weather manipulation.
Sponsored by Janis Kucinich, who was RFK's campaign manager for.
There you go.
For whatever that's worth.
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, that's a link for sure, and that's not a sync. That's like a link. There's
not a sync; it's a link.
Yeah. It's not gossip; it's sync.
That's a good title.
This is now Link Tank.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. So yeah,
Twisters,
basically,
I mean, what else to say about Twisters? It was kind of just, I don't know.
Yeah, everybody I know seems to hate it and think it's just but I think that's kind of the point. Like they were trying to make a movie that was normal. It's like for people from Kansas.
You know what?
Yeah, the music felt very.
That's for voters.
Too much
that's a movie
contemporary
for
country.
It's a voters movie,
Glenn Powell has got the Tom Cruise smile. Sorry, go ahead.
There was a chaotic dynamic between Helen Hunt and what was the
Bill Paxton?
Bill Paxton. Like Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt vowed to never work with each other again after working on Twister. And I think that with a movie so charged as Twister, you almost need that sort of chaotic energy feeding into the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And
I mean, beyond them hating each other,
that kind of environment anymore in movies.
Totally.
Yeah, they were doing practical effects and all this wind tunnel stuff and all just crazy on location, filming. But then this one is kind of just like, they're just in a studio doing the mostly CG.
This picture reminds me maybe a tangent, unless someone can sync it, but there was a documentary that came out recently called The Brat Pack, and it was all like exploring like the negative connotation and how it affected everybody's sort of career trajectory from being under that umbrella. This
connects to the Trump assassination because, I think it's basically the midpoint of the midpoint between Trump's birthday and the day he was almost assassinated is the premiere date of St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh, really?
The Brat Pack, one of the most intense ones. So it introduced all these people.
Where the heck is Molly Ringwald in this picture? I see Ali Sheedy. She's like, when I think Brat Pack, I'm thinking Michael Anthony Hall. I'm thinking, this isn't just the Brat Pack. Rob Lowe, was he in the Brat Pack?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
100%. Because he's in St. Elmo's Fire. St. Elmo's Fire is actually a religious reference.
Demi Moore's playing like this investment banker to be. So, like she's like
St. Elmo's Fire is a weather phenomenon, right? Where a luminous plasma is created by coronal discharge from a rod-like object such as a mast, a spire, a chimney, an animal horn. Let's say a seraph, okay? And so it has been observed on leading edge of planes, on boats, right? So St. Elmo's Fire, like lightning charges hitting the tops of your boats. And they're like, oh, the boat's been hit by St. Elmo's Fire.
Right. But what about St. Anthony's Fire, and how does it connect? Because St. Anthony's Fire is ergot poisoning.
Yeah.
And who's Tony? Catcher in the Rye. The Rye. You get it? Ergot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Something to that. I don't know. I think that the Brat Pack movies, though, also there's that like Kevin Smith talking about how people live their lives believing in it and they try to seek it out and it doesn't exist for them, right? And I think that's pretty hard. Like that whole generation of movies are like the 30s studio films about the ultra elite during like we look at the Reaganomics and we look at it like it's so great, but there's a lot of poverty at that same time. These
Right.
movies don't.
Do you remember what Tracy Twyman said the Rat Pack was likely named after? Was the water rats and then a star backwards, right?
Yeah.
So which is all of those guys belong to the same fraternity type thing. I don't know what you call it. It's not Shriners, it's something, but yeah, the water rats. Does that come up? Water Rats Secret Society?
The Grand Order of Water Rats, right? Which is I forget if are they a Shriner? They're just an industrial fraternity. Okay. I know that what's it called? Laurel and Hardy were members of the Water Rats as well. Like everybody, of course.
Totally. And Laurel and Hardy have some really heavy hitters in terms like what is up with that? Like the Sons of the Desert is like one of the craziest freaking sync related films. Like there's so many gems all through that, like screams of Eyes Wide Shut. In fact, Tracy Twyman recommended to me when she was still alive, and I was messaging with her when I was working on Sorry Cassandra, and she recommended that I check out The Smallest Show on Earth, which also had an alternative name called Big Time Operators, and that has Peter Sellers in it. It's a crazy sync attractor and seems to, like Kubrick took from that film, along with the Laurel and Hardy Sons of the Desert episode, which is all about them wanting to go to the like Freemasonic event and having to lie to their wives about it to get there, and they pretend they go on this cruise, but then the cruise ship sinks and they have to like lie their way out of it, and the wives make a bet on which one Laurel Hardy will tell the truth to them, and then it ends with like Stanley basically getting special treatment like from his wife because he was honest, and when he breaks down and he cries and he talks about going to the Masonic event, it feels a lot like Eyes Wide Shut, and it's Stanley. So there's the idea with Eyes Wide Shut, is this like inspired like Beyond Dream Story, the novella, but is it that he told his wife things that he wasn't supposed to talk about, and he's like, I don't know.
I feel like that's a big part of it, but also let's not forget that Sons of the Desert is about keeping a secret that's not a big deal. Like they're trying to keep this secret. It's not like when people they're not like hitmen again,
right?
But people automatically go to that. They're like, what?
Well, there's also All Work and No Play Make Jack a Dull Boy is in the movie. So like the wives, while the husbands are away, go to the movies, and that's how they find out that their husbands went to the secret society event, because there's a parade along with the event, and they see their husbands in the newsreel. But like during that sequence, it says across the screen, it's all Work and No Play Make Jack a Dull Boy. And so like I don't know the full origin of that saying. Maybe I should, but yeah, it's weird.
Oh, comes from Joyce. Actually,
does it come from James Joyce? Really?
Yeah.
From what? Finnegan's Wake or what?
No, it first appears. I think it's in Dubliners.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Well, that's something. Did I not know that? That's crazy. Has Bill not told me that? What the hell? Huh?
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it definitely is in Joyce. Maybe it didn't originate from Joyce, but it was a proverb. Sure. I'm looking this up now. It's like it's an old proverb, but it is used in Joyce too.
Yeah, well, he had proverbs for different countries for the 5 different versions of that sequence.
Yes, yeah.
And so somebody actually typed out in all these different languages, like even the papers they don't show you supposedly are still typed out, and it's like somebody had that job. I think this woman had that job to type out all of that stuff, and like when they showed it in Italy, it like translated to like tomorrow holds the sun in its mouth or something like that.
The sun holds the sun holds the morning in its mouth.
Thank you. Okay, cool. Yeah.
I've never seen that like actually image like from an Italian version. So
well, I think you'd need the reels. Like, I think that in order to watch that at this point, unless if somebody wants to digitize it, you'd need the actual reels.
Well, people are doing that all the time now. Like, there's several accounts that are like posting scans.
If you're bothering to put a film on a reel these days, you're probably going to digitize it or at least film it happening.
Well, if you're going to find an old reel that was shown in the theater for these different movies, maybe we could watch the alternate ending of The Wizard of Oz where she actually gets out of the bed and she's still wearing the ruby slippers, or the end of the birds when they show up in San Francisco and the birds are all over the Golden Gate Bridge. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen it. I've been told about it. I'd be interested to know if there's reels out there that have these alternative takes.
Future reel. Is Bill and Ted 3 actually a good movie? Am I missing something?
I haven't watched it.
No.
So Kevin Smith cried, watched it 3 times. Know your meme, right? And so maybe what we don't get is that we're not fathers or something like that. And if you you've gone through being Silent Bob to like a well-adjusted, I mean, honestly, is Kevin Smith not well-adjusted? Might be the term. He's like successfully living in this world as a father. He sees this movie differently than I do. But I tried to reanalyze it, and the idea that if you, to do this, I had to watch The Good Back to the Bill and Ted Bogus Journey, where you see the future and what amazing San Dimas will look like in the future. But the way Bill and Ted 3 goes is that after the sequel, where you saw how the world worked out, everyone saw objectively they're the best band ever, and the song is the greatest song ever, and it saves the world. That's not working. Somewhere in the future timeline, things have gone wrong. And I reanalyzed this, and I'm like, this is true. Like, look at this world. Is it that great? Like, yeah, they have headphones on. But you know how, like, you look at the next generation and you think that, like, youth is wasted on the young and they're ignorant? That's kind of, it seems to me, the point. It's like they've lost some of the struggle that Bill and Ted went through. And so even though they've kind of did all the hard work, that just made things easy for everybody. And so it's not about, like, Kiss performing your song for you. It's just about, like, continually making music. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit.
I found it tolerable. Sorry, that was
Basically.
I watched it to the end though. I don't know. I would rather watch Bogus Journey than watch the third one.
Oh yeah,
Never got around to it.
But this is like not about what we like. This is like Twisters again.
Sure.
Like, yeah, Twisters was tolerable, but what is it? What are the deeper?
I feel that way about music now. I feel that way about, like, I will endure or like go through, like, I will listen to a whole album of something for sync purposes to the point that it's like I would never listen to this on my own. Like, it just so happens this album came out on the same date of this film, so I have to see. Yeah, no, that's.
If you go to my page, like, I think what I just tweeted about today is the Baby Geniuses movies.
Yeah, I've seen that. So what is? I love that movie actually. I'm a fan of this one.
Both of them. Well, the second one is quite insane. But they're both, I don't know. But like, this is something like early on in my crypto kid career. It was like 5 a.m. and I'm like feverishly writing this detailed analysis of Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2, and how it relates to Stanley Kubrick's like secret existence.
Can you imagine like
what the hell is going on here?
Up at Alex's house, and they're here like looking for ketamine, and all they see are like pictures of Kubrick with red strings everywhere. Like, oh, we went to the wrong house again.
Dude, who's Angelina Jolie's dad?
John Voight?
Yeah, John Voight. Like, wasn't he the voice in Baby Boss? Is he in this too?
Well, he's in Super Babies. He plays he's like the Nazi villain, basically. There's like a subplot of like Nazi experimentation on children where there's like a kind of super baby who is like eternal baby because he can't grow old because of the whatever experimentation was done.
So is it the Star Child thing? Is that what's happening? What's happening? Is that where you're going with it?
Like that? Well, I'm going more with like a Stanley Kubrick Montauk Time Boy kind of thesis.
Or Cocoon or Lost Boys. Any of those really fit the bill.
Sure. Stanley
There's
Kubrick
a lot of ways you could go with it.
Escapes the human timeline, goes OT8. His funeral is the release of Baby Geniuses. It just seems pretty clear that the Star Children have engaged full throttle, and that's kind of what the timeline felt like.
Yeah, and this is directed by Bob Clark, who's no slouch. He's like started with like Black Christmas and like exploitation movies, and then he made A Christmas Story, and some other stuff. But then he winds up dying with his son in a car crash on April 4th, 2007. So maybe it was a hit for too much info leaked in the Super Babies franchise.
I mean, that would have to explain the John Voight connection, because like, why? Like, is your career really at this point? There has to be something to this. That's
Scott Baio's in it, plays a guy named Stanley, and there's like a point at which John Voight's there in a Nazi voice saying, "Stanley, what are you doing?"
Oh god. Oh god.
I mean, there is a sync here, right? Because Baby Mozart, Super Babies, Mozart was taken out for revealing the secrets in his music, and maybe people are getting taken out for revealing the secrets in Super Babies.
Probably.
I don't know. Do I have to go there, Alex? Is that what you're telling me? Like I have to like really just pay attention to Super Babies like
I mean, you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. It's
no, I'm just saying, is that like
I've already done the work. Maybe I'll
or is that
You
like
can
is it
live in ignorance
worthwhile?
if you
Like
want. That's your choice.
I don't know. Maybe I'll see
it's
something you missed. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's been a while since it was actually 700. This is kind of weird. I just went back in my emails and I went to that email I sent to Sean where I was analyzing Super Babies many years ago, and I did a time said how much time from then to today when I tweet about it, and it's like in hours it's 77770 hours, like to so just jackpot, blah, 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 ding ding ding.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
clearly,
no,
like,
it's worth watching. I mean,
Ice Spice, Baby Spice, Super Baby Genius.
also
Stanley
like
Kubrick. No matter where you go, it's your
Genie-
birthday, their death day, Stanley Kubrick.
right, exactly. Yeah.
So her birthday is Stanley Kubrick's death day on the same year?
Yeah.
No, it's
Isn't it?
her,
It is.
no. She's born January 1st, 2000, the first day of the
Okay.
millennium.
Oh,
Oh,
the
okay.
next year, like
Well,
a year
you know,
from the day
it
after.
takes a few months, man. You gotta be like, isn't it like 9 months?
Sure, it's
like
basically
it's
9
exactly-
months.
It's 9
That's-
months after, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like that.
Yeah, bro. She like gestated, and she's like, I'm gonna go be on that fake moon.
So
Rizzling.
what we're entertaining is that Ice Spice is the reincarnation of Stanley Kubrick. That's what's happening.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I mean-
entertaining that and of the.
I think
Well,
a lot
maybe-
of people are, right? Like,
That
Maybe
was
the
the meme
Nefesh
for-
should just it's split.
I think
and
Jordan Peele
multiplies,
is the-
you know.
who died the day that, or the 9 months before Taylor Swift was born? Her friend, right? So we gotta know that too.
Well,
Taylor
I don't know.
Swift birthday was December
March
13th.
So
December-
who's? Oh, exactly 9 months is a March 19th geomagnetic storm. I was just here. The link is purple. Who knows?
Wow. Okay.
I don't know. Who's born.
1989.
Not good content to just scroll.
Oh, I love it. No, everyone's like, look at these guys.
Oh.
They're seriously doing this. 27 NASA Discovery 8 mission returns to Earth. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to dig into it. But I bet you it was like Gaddafi. You know what I mean? It was probably like Taylor Swift was Gaddafi. That would be like cool.
Well, like I said, I've pointed out before, Taylor Swift was born 666 weeks after the day that Roman Polanski was in the hot tub with Samantha Geimer. So it's kind of a strange. Oh, and what the new I've said that before on here, but what I realized now, newly realized, is that the midpoint of that is the day Madonna released her first album.
Really?
So you got two pop star, iconic pop star.
Okay.
releasing it.
Salvador Dali died January 23rd, 1989. That's probably not Taylor Swift, though.
Could be.
I don't know, but that's interesting. Although in the
Probably me.
future, when you say that, Alex, I would say instead of saying in the hot tub with Samantha Geimer, I'd say before Polanski got himself into hot water.
Okay.
I never knew that Salvador Dali
Right.
died like right before I was
Crazy.
born. Does that make me Ice Spice? I don't know. That could be cool.
Dude,
Meryl too.
I saw one of his paintings once. I think it was at the Tate, and I couldn't believe how small it was. Like when I seen like Salvador Dali paintings, like prints of them, I'm always like visualizing like the elephants and everything. I'm like, oh, this is this giant painting. And then it was like, oh, what the heck is that? That's just okay. I guess he painted small. I don't know what they're all like, but this guy's pretty prolific. He's painting all through the 70s too, right? Like he just didn't stop, that guy. I don't know. Whatever.
Fake spy, Russian oil, $1 million funneled to Democrats. I don't know. I mean, these are just it is what it is. What have you guys been watching recently? Anybody got a thing? We got about 9 minutes. What have you been watching that you want to share with the world?
Lost. Going through Lost again.
Going through, dude. I have to recommend an awesome movie that I came across randomly. It's called Dashcam. I think it's 2002, and it's starring it's basically a movie entirely shot by and starring Annie Hardy, who was she's a musician. She was in Giant Drag. She's got like some of her own stuff going on. They like she ended up playing like Jimmy Kimmel's show. She was on Pretty Little Liars. I think did a collaboration with like Deftones and stuff. It's kind of a big deal. But this movie is about her being sort of like an anti-masker, like like annoying conservative Republican, and she shot the thing herself. And there's a whole part where she goes through like a airport in London, and this is before any of the shots came out, before anything like had really popped off. And she's actually recording herself with like a no libtard shirt on, and like she's got like messages written on her mask and stuff. But it's the most wild. And I talked to her recently, and she made a really good point. She's like, it's the perfect date movie because you can find out all of someone's like most extreme political opinions based on how they react to her character in this movie without bringing up vaccines, without bringing up like any sort of political anything. You're just like, hey, let's put on this crazy horror movie. You know what I mean? This Blumhouse horror movie. And then based on that reaction, yeah. So I highly, highly, highly recommend this movie. It's so good.
So it's a filter. It's a filter to take somebody out, see where they stand, so you don't have to ask them anything. They'll let you know.
What's the name of this movie again?
It's called Dashcam 2022, I believe.
Horror film. All right. Legit.
Cool.
Check out Dashcam.
Yeah, highly recommend it. It is so good. I don't want to give any of it away, really.
Okay, so I read Alex's analysis of Long Legs and Fly Me to the Moon. I haven't seen Long Legs yet, but I saw Fly Me to the Moon, and I gotta say, guys, I mean, I don't freaking know. I've showed the whole thing with you before about this long conversation I had with this retired guy from NASA, but like, I'm pretty sure that's the closest movie probably to what actually happened. Although I can't say that for sure because I haven't watched the last 15 minutes. So if something happens in the last 15 minutes, I don't know. It could be something else.
I've got a read on Fly Me to the Moon because I ended up watching it a bunch of times. I was going to do like a review. I never got around to it, but so the long story short of it is that they keep showing this black cat throughout the movie, and the black cat is representative of the Apollo 1 tragedy. And I did this whole damn deep dive on the Apollo 1, and dude, the Apollo 1 seems like one of the biggest smoking guns in this entire thing. First of all, the guy that ran the actual Apollo 1 program, he ends up developing early onset schizophrenia. He gets actual dementia praecox as the result of the stress induced by this. And part of that is right before they launch, the 3 astronauts take a photo of themselves praying to the lunar module that they are to like the little module that they all burned alive in, and they take a picture of them praying, and the guy frames this in his house, and then they actually die. And like the subtext of this photo they took was like, hey, nothing personal, but we don't trust you. And they end up dying in this thing. And the way that they keep referring back to Apollo 1 and Fly Me to the Moon over and over again, it almost seems like that's the real like power that drive all the other Apollo missions.
Dude, totally. Thank you, Thomas. Like while I was watching, I was like, what's the black cat connection? And I was thinking of Parsons or something. I was like, is there some other thing? So that makes a lot of sense. This is one of those like almost like, what is this? Is this supposed to be a romantic comedy? Because if it is, I'm not really laughing or getting into
originally
the romance.
It was going to be directed by Jason Bateman, and then they switched out who the director and who the actors were. I think originally it was going to be a lot funnier, and it turns into a rom-com. But one other thing too is that I think that this is like a dig at like the Freemasonic influence into the space program. And maybe it's reaching, but it's because as soon as she shows up, right, they put her into, or they show her a lodge room. They show her a room that has no windows in it, and it's like this little office they're going to give her. And the first thing she does is she starts knocking down walls and putting up windows. She starts letting light into this lodge room, and all the guys around here are like, no, you can't let light in here. We can't let anyone see what's going inside this huge lodge room.
Right. It's a solar lodge. We're the solar, like not that. Yeah, no, totally. Dude. So like as I was watching it, I was like, what does this remind me of? I was like, this reminds me of The Men Who Stare at Goats in terms of like, you made a movie that's like, oh, it's funny. It's whatever it is. It's like almost just an excuse to like literally tell the public something close to what happened, and then do it in such a way that it's plausible deniability. We don't have to freaking be questioned in any serious way. This is not Oppenheimer. This is not a serious biopic story of anybody. It's just, here's a bunch of information that's probably pretty close to exactly what happened. So that's been my feeling of the lunar missions, is that they have this plan B to like, here, we're going to show this fake, and then really the whole time, this is really what we're going to show anyway. We don't know.
I also think that there's probably some government buy-in on this whole aspect of prison. Like it's these soft disclosure after soft disclosure to the point where the government will never actually have to say, okay, guys, like we faked it. In fact, they can, if they wait long enough, someone can be like, come on, everyone knows that was fake. Look at all these look at all the jokes that have persisted for the last 2 centuries. Only a complete rube would think that it was real, and that way they never actually have to walk anything back.
Dude, totally. Soft disclosure, that's the word. Thank you. Yeah,
also,
no,
just that sync with Channing Tatum back to the Logan Lucky, which has what's his name from James Bond?
Daniel Craig.
Sorry, thank you. Daniel Craig as this southern bomb expert, like prison criminal, like regular criminal guy. Then Adam Driver from the like Star Wars and anything else that he's in. And the whole point of the movie is that everyone around them only knows what they're meant to know. And then they show you that at the end of the movie, because with the audience is knowing only what the characters are meant to know. But then it's implied and then shown that more is known than anyone knows. And I think that's kind of an interesting style for a movie. This movie also has like everybody in it, like Seth MacFarlane. And yeah, I would recommend checking it out.
I remember, I haven't actually watched it, but I know that it has a 237 in it because somebody sent it to me. So like, hey, there's one in this movie.
It would be crazy if it didn't.
I think it's actually 2037, so it's just like possessed.
Yeah, right. Definitely. There's levels to it. Everybody make sure you go to MK Ultrasound and Cryptocubrology and Paranoid American. Let me just get that all. Cryptocubrology and Cryptocubrology Substack, and then Paranoid American. Boom, I did it. Okay, so David Plate, if you go to MK Ultrasound on x.com, you can also find his link to his sync book, where at the Sync Book Press, they've got his sync flicks. Here's Rosemary's Baby with the White Album, which we reviewed. If you want to see how a mystic, synchromystic work where a movie and a soundtrack go together, why it works so well, David does an amazing thing explaining that on our channel, and then here you can watch all of them. But wait, there's more. If you go to his X, he's also put them directly on his page, where you can find other tweets he's doing, so just follow him in general. He's talking about RFK before it was cool. And you go to highlights. So now that you go to highlights, you'll find all of his sync flicks, and they're just like hundreds of movies you can just watch on x.com.
Thank you, Andreas. That's awesome. I was supposed to do a thing with Will yesterday, but my electricity went out. And like,
really, mine too.
I was sitting outside. Yours too? Yeah, I was sitting outside.
Great. It's almost
Bill,
over.
and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do a podcast. I'm like, wait, the lights are all off, so that's postponed. But we'll do that pretty soon. We got like 2 films to go over, so yeah.
Michael Jackson, Home Alone, and Dangerous all at the same time. It's pretty sweet. But also go to Cryptocubrology. Crypto K is not a research chemical. It's actually a numerological lens to look at life through that's shared with us by Alex. And if you go to his Cryptocubrology page, you can also find out about the Bitcoin Magazine privacy issue, where you can get his article, Give Me Time, because as we know, time is on our side. So very cool.
Totally. Thank you.
Most reading this know that Bitcoin is an all-encompassing subject, a rabbit hole. Oh man, you just really you're so surreptitious. Like these people went into this looking to read about the economy. They're going to be on their toilet in Connecticut.
I'm really excited because like some people subscribe to that. Like Max, I think pretty sure. Well, Max Kaiser has an article in there.
This is a pretty big deal. Yeah, like the people.
Pretty excited. I hope somebody actually reads it and thinks I'm. Doesn't think I'm insane.
If you like that, or you want to read more, or even if you don't, and you want to read something else, then go check out cryptocubrology.com, because that's how you get to his Substack, where he's got all sorts of articles written about the numerological synchro-mystic connections, syncs and links.
Thank you. A few more I'm working on. I'm in between living situations right now, so I haven't been able to write much, but I got quite a bit there if you want to read it. Cool. And yeah, I got that piece about, and you should watch Long Legs, David, because it's kind of it really is a companion piece with Fly Me to the Moon. Because it's kind of about like an algorithmic serial killer who's like a glam rocker. It's like weird,
interesting.
But not that great movie. But I don't know, it's cool.
Sounds like
so anyway. You know what? If it's for sync, I can watch the weirdest movies I would never watch otherwise and get something out of it. That's my thing.
That's why we're here. Yeah, like the the Wild Thornburgs. Greta Thunberg. No one saw it coming, but it was important that we did it. Paranoid American. If you go research, the fastest way to get to the truth is comic books. I think you all know that. Comic books are where truth is actually kept. So the actual truth is in Paranoid American.
And speaking of chemtrails, I've got a children's book about chemtrails on this site. It's a full-length children's book. It's kind of based on Magic School Bus kind of situation, a bit of a parody. And then another huge one that probably is going to launch next is IlluminatiComic.com. And that's basically one of these little chick tract style pamphlets that breaks down the entire history of the Bavarian Illuminati, Alumbrados, Rosicrucians, French Freemasons, Jesuits. It goes through the entire DNA and history of all of them. So I'm pretty excited about that one too. Yeah, this one right here. It's already at 134.
Based. Do not collab. That's hilarious. Okay, guys, make sure you guys click on the notify me. You know the rules. Click on that so that we can get it to launch. The more that he launches, the more comic books exist. The more kids out there can defend themselves against vampires, werewolves, and stepdads.
And every book launch, I've decided that's how I'm going to start doing my conspiracy cards, trading cards. So every single time I release a new comic, I'll probably add 5 to 10 cards to that set. So over the next 10 releases, I'll have at least another 100 cards in the set. So that's probably how I'm going to end up doing this.
Based. Yeah, and if you wanted to, you could follow me, x.com/Andreas Xirtus. Propaganda is art for a reason. All right, love you guys. See you guys soon, and gals, and everything in between. Oh, wait, did we want to? No, that's fine. That's good. All right, peace.